Hi guys, my name is Morgan. I'm one of your leaders for discussion 4. We had to watch the documentary The 13th, which is about how the 13th Amendment really was the first domino, which finally led to the United States being the number one nation in the world with the highest number of incarcerated persons. This really made me really think about our history as a nation. So one thing that really grabbed my attention was the mention of the KKK and how the version we all know about really first came across, really started with how they were portrayed in The Birth of a Nation and how they were hanging African Americans and burning crosses and all those other horrible things. This brought me to two questions. One, why do you think the Ku Klux Klan thought they had the right to take the law into their own hands and killing African Americans and torturing them and doing all of those different horrible things that they did to them? And two, if the birth of a nation never existed or they didn't have the Ku Klux Klan portrayed in the movie, do you think one, the Ku Klux Klan would have had such a strong movement with so many people involved? Two, would you think that white people or those who are against African Americans being free, do you think they would have just come up with a different excuse or a different group that would just still do what the Ku Klux Klan was doing, just without the pointy white hats? And three, do you think there would have just been nothing at all, and it would have just been just kind of a evil time and a bad time for African Americans without killing and all those other horrible things? Later in the movie or in the documentary, they were talking about the war on drugs. Now, for me, I've always loved history. History was my favorite subject in high school, middle school, even now in college. I take as many classes as I can. And one of the big things they mentioned was, or the main thing they mentioned was the war on drugs and how that really came about with Nixon and then Reagan and so on and so forth, and how politics really was how it really pushed it into what it is now. And in those history classes I took in school, the war on drugs never was really mentioned, or if it was, it never really went into any detail. So I'm either thinking that textbooks in high school just were very outdated, and even though it was 2010, the book was made in 2000, or that this is kind of a shameful part of our history, or that just kids in general don't really need to know, or it's a sensitive subject to have the war on drugs, be a topic in class. So this kind of led me to a question that, do you think that the war on drugs and its repercussions will be seen as a dark time in U.S. history? Why or why not? Thank you.